Welcome to the Sustainable Success Show, where we share real-world ideas, strategies, and systems to help you build success that lasts in business and life. Each episode delivers practical insights you can apply immediately without burnout, chaos, or short-term fixes that don't scale. At the foundation is emotional intelligence and effective communication, how you lead yourself and how you connect with others across personalities, generations, and cultures, because that's where trust, engagement, and performance are created. I'm Christopher Salem, your host, and this is where sustainable success becomes your competitive advantage. Welcome to Sustainable Success. I'm your host, Chris Salem. We want to thank you, existing listeners that have been with us for now almost 9 years. You are now seeing for the first time in a long time, we are now on a new platform, a new format that we have never done before. You've heard of our show by listening to us, not only on our old Voice America Business channel, but also on Spotify and Apple and iHeart. Well, guess what? We're still there. Yet, we are now and have a video portion of our show. Yes, for the first time, you get to see our beautiful faces here, right? And our guests not only sharing their words of wisdom by mouth, but you get to see us. So we also have a version on YouTube. So we encourage you now to check us out on YouTube. And that will be on my personal page at Christopher R. Salem, at Christopher R. Salem. Check us out there. And then also feel free to follow us in addition to Apple, Spotify, and iHeart. You could also find us on our Facebook page at Sustainable Success 2017. That's when we formed our show back in May of 2017. It's hard to believe we've been around, but it's because you, the listeners, we are committed to each and every week providing quality content that's going to help elevate you and your business to the next level. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, it is a membership program, taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to come in and generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. So I'm so excited today to be talking about a topic that is so important for any type of business, especially for small to mid-sized businesses, SMBs as we call them, the top 10 sales drivers for SMBs today. This is so imperative because sales is the lifeblood of any business. Without it, you don't have a business. So whether if you're not involved in sales, you are indirectly one way or the other, or you better have someone helping you to do that, because that's the way you're going to bring in new clients and sustain business to continue to sell upward. We're going to be with John Noonan. John, give you a little background, is a former EVP of sales and marketing with 3 decades of experience, who has been in the shoes of business owners who are not meeting sales goals and achieving sustainable success. He partners with business owners to transform sales challenges into sustainable success, boosting accountability, driving growth, and unlocking unstoppable performance. He is the president of Growth Plan Partners, a company that helps small to mid-sized companies create record-breaking sales growth. He's a certified sales leader, CSL, and a Vistage trusted advisor, and he leverages over 35 years of experience in sales and marketing, as well as an MBA in marketing and finance, to provide strategic guidance and leadership to his clients. His mission is to build a path to more sales for SMBs that struggle to grow their sales or need guidance to get to the next level and beyond. He does this by creating and implementing sales strategy and plans, finding and targeting the best customers, and growing and optimizing their sales pipeline. He also coaches and mentors business owners, sales leaders, and sales teams to develop their skills and confidence. And without further ado, we welcome John Noonan to the show. John, how you doing today?
Great. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that fine introduction.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. And John, you and I are so close. We're almost like neighbors. Just we have the state line of Connecticut and New York, which you're on the other side of New York in Westchester County, and I'm in Fairfield County, Connecticut. I love what with that, the fact that you're working with SMBs. SMBs, are they make up majority of the businesses in our country. I mean, there's so many of them out there on various levels, depending upon revenue, the amount of people that work for them, and so on. and they play an integral part in a lot of supply chains industries as well. Let's talk a little bit about, I guess before we start, when you get into the top 10 sales drivers, a little background about you, your experience over 35 years working in corporate, now taking that experience in sales and marketing to SMBs, and what brought you here and how you're helping businesses in that segment.
Well, thank you, Chris. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so as you mentioned in the bio there, over 3 decades of experience at the corporate level. So started with the big boys, so multi-billion-dollar company, which was great for me from the standpoint of I actually got really good training, both as a salesperson, and then when I decided I wanted to become a sales leader, I actually got training for that. Because we joke a little bit in my industry today about, one of the biggest mistakes people make in SMBs is take their best salesperson and make them their sales manager, and that rarely works. We can talk about that later.
I've seen it many times before.
That's generally a mistake, and in any event. So I got some really good training. I enjoyed it, got lured away to a couple of different companies, and then ended up actually as the president of about a $50 million printing operation. Which was subsequently sold to private equity. So I entered this private equity world, or this world of private equity, working for companies owned by them, where I had a small ownership piece along with the management team. We usually have about 15% ownership. So there's where my big exposure came to being a business owner, right? Hey, this is my money. This is, I've got skin in this game all the way around. So it's not just about what I do for the company. It's what the whole company is doing to grow and to be profitable and everything else. So you get some really great insight into that. And I did that for over 20 years, had, sales at 3 companies that I worked for. So I got to watch that process and how that all occurs. But that's what I did in my corporate career. And then, was helping out a smaller company, and along came COVID. Okay. And so I actually helped them save their business by stepping away. I said that there's no way you can support us at this point in time. You can outsell your capacity to a bigger player in the industry, and when the industry changes, you come back. They did. They're back in business. That's all good. But I sat there at that point and said, what do I do now? And I had always thought of trying to be more involved in my local community with smaller businesses. And I said, you know what? I help build some of the biggest businesses in my industries. I've watched this happen. I know what the issues are. What if I just started calling some people that were small and mid-size in those industries that I served? And that's where I got my first clients. I just picked up the phone and started sending some emails and said, hey, you remember me? And, as being one of the leaders of a large company, they had seen me at the trade shows. They knew who I was. So that's how it all got started.
Yep.
And then I joined forces with an organization called Sales Acceleration with an X. I'm an advisor for them now. Great organization that, again, serves SMBs with their sales strategy and tactics, and all of us who are the experts in essence. But that's how I got it started. And, in my corporate career, I have over 2.5 million miles in the air and over 2 years in hotel rooms. So I was kind of done with that extent.
Yeah, I've been there. I've had my American frequent flyers and Delta since 1992. So it's added up over the years.
Yeah, I earned 1 million miles on Continental when United was.
Yeah, which is part of United. Oh,
so yeah, well, we know the game, and so it was so fun to start working with my local community and getting involved with local networking groups and the business council here and some other folks, and then a local Vistage group and things like that. So so that was kind of corporate what I did there. So what I do today, as you mentioned again in my bio, I'm helping small and mid-sized businesses that are looking to get to that next level, or they're simply stuck. I mean, again, we see it all the time. Great idea, great process, great offering, whatever it happens to be. They drive it to some magical number, $15 million, and then the brakes go on and everybody's looking at one another. What happened? Why did, we were going so well. And, quite often it's pretty obvious to us, again, what hasn't been done and why this happened. But, there are processes and systems that need to be put in place and dashboards. And, business owners tend to stay too involved in sales, to be honest with you. That's part of my job is
they tend to cling to the control instead of delegating. That's the king of delegate. You got to delegate well.
You do. And they're, hey, they built this business. They're proud of it. They were the first salesperson. That's wonderful. And you can talk to every customer and prospect every day if you want, but you really shouldn't keep a book of business. That's kind of a no-no. We're going to show you how to get out of that, how to let other people do that, and worry about driving the business, across all lanes and all avenues, if you will. So in any event, I come in as a fractional sales leader or a fractional chief revenue officer, whatever title they'd like to give me. I really don't care. But, again, to kind of take over, work with this business owner. We're working side by side. I'm working at their direction, but showing them how to put in these systems, processes, hold the salespeople accountable. And they might not have all the perfect salespeople. So I do have a recruiting firm behind me. If we need to hopefully add, but we may have to replace, we can do both of those and onboard good people and make sure they understand. And ultimately, over time, I build a playbook for them. All right. So it's a playbook because I'm not there to embed myself for years. My average client, I only work with 6 to 12 months. And usually I've been pretty successful. Thankfully, I have them up 20 to 35% in revenue. And now it's time to kind of find my replacement. And if that's an internal person, I'm happy to train them. If we need to go to the outside, I can do that as well. But I want to, make sure that they've got everything that they need, that I really set them up for a rinse and repeat future where they can see, repeatable sales growth and reasonable sales growth. So that's what I do.
That. That's fab. Thank you for that background, and I think it's so important to set the foundation what you're going to share here today about the top 10 sales drivers. For a business, a small business, a small to mid-sized business that says, and a lot of times they might have gotten to a certain level, but now they're stuck. They've been kind of not really going upward, and now it's either what? Do we have the right salespeople in place? Is our messaging, aligning with our audience as we expand? Maybe these systems that we've had in place up to this point are just not sufficient now to go to that next level, and we're clearly just not sure what to do. Can you share with us what are some of those challenges and obstacles that these business owners of these types of businesses have, and then why they end up making the decision to work with somebody like you that can now help them get to that next level?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So, one of the primary things that I think small business doesn't do enough of, and they need to do this as one of the top 10 things they should do, is really sit down and think through and put a strategy around who are our ideal clients and how do we best serve them? Okay. We get so excited when we have a business and we have an offering. We want to tell the world and we want to sell it to everybody. Okay. That might not be the best strategy, and it generally is not. Okay. When you try to sell to everybody, you waste a lot of valuable time and you become very inefficient at what you do. And, one of the lines that I've been using lately, good, better, and different, when I get in there, it's like, folks, it's time to put the shotguns in the rack. You got to stop shooting at everything that moves in the grass because we may not want that. Okay. I work with clients at the beginning, again, as you mentioned too, that I have a marketing background as well. And, a lot of this is marketing, theory that's been around for years and years. You really want to define who is our ideal client profile. What is it going to take to satisfy them? And will that ideal client profile bring us profit and reward? So it's got to be, a two-sided positive equation, right? We have to be able to make money on them. we have to be able to serve them well, and they have to be satisfied with our offerings. So generally at the beginning, what I'm doing with clients is having them narrow those ICPs down. Let's just pick a few. Let's pick a few of really good ones that we serve well, and let's go find more of those clients, okay? Because that's what we built the company on. That's what we do well today, and where we can make the most profit. And sometimes we have to push away some of these clients that we were so excited to get. Maybe they're big names, maybe they're big logos, okay? But we might not be making money on them. And when you sit down and really evaluate your client base, you're going to find quite a few of these. You're going to be surprised that, man, I've been selling this client for 3 years and we're not making a dime on them, when you figure out not only our gross margin, but all of our costs to serve this client. So that's one of the first things that we look for is let's get defined. Let's decide who we are. Later, we can decide we want to grow back into other markets, but let's do it with a strategy, and make sure that we're prepared to do it, because, marketing is, first you have to have visibility and recognition. Well, you may have to build that in a market that you don't serve today and things like that, but that's a little bit down the road. So again, one of the primary things is let's get a defined strategy, who are we going to serve? How are we going to serve them? How are we going to make money? And build our differentiators around that. Okay. And that's another thing that, it's part of that first, top 10 things to do. Define your strategy, but also define what makes you different. And, I've worked in these strategy sessions with clients, and we spend hours talking about what makes you who you are. And I keep hearing the same things. We have great customer service. Our quality is so high. And I'm like, all important, but everybody's
saying those things.
What can you say different? And that's what you really have to sit down and figure out. What can you truly state is different about you and why clients like to do business with you? And then you've got to, you got to build your sales stories around that.
Yeah, I love that. You gotta really know your audience, not just assume you know your audience. Like, right? You have to. What are their common and core challenges that could be better? What are the results they seek and don't have? And sometimes we just, as salespeople, we may assume that, but that's not necessarily the case. Because if it was, then perhaps we would have built enough rapport and trust where they might be talking to us, but they're not.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I love what you just said there. So we have to be, like you said, that is so important to get somebody to go, I got to make that better. That's now a priority. People will take action once that priority becomes big enough to do something about it. So I love that.
You got it.
Yeah. So in this case, like you talked about a playbook. I love to hear about, again, you don't have to disclose any kind of confidential things but anything that's general, feel free to share, because I'm a big advocate of, I'm a big sports guy, and a lot of our listeners are like sports. And I always like to equate that. And a playbook obviously is used in almost every sport. So I'd love to talk about that as the game plan for a small to mid-sized business that, that's now applying that to sales.
Yeah. And again, you can start to build this on your own. Many do build it on their own, and I applaud them for doing it. But if you need some help, seek out an expert, because there's some things here you can make some mistakes on, and then you start guiding everybody down a play that won't work. That's not going to do it. But in any event, my complete playbook that I offer to clients today, and we're starting to par it down, but it's close to 80 pages in general for the average company. Okay, because we're trying to look at everything. We're trying to look at the beginning. How did we come to be? Who are we? Who do we serve? Who's our ideal client profile? Okay. Then get into your competitive. Small businesses don't do enough analysis on. That's another item.
Yeah.
Get a feel for your competitors. Everybody says, yeah, I know who they are. I know who they are. You got ChatGPT today. Just go on, plug in your website, plug in the websites of 5 of your competitors and say, tell me what I'm saying is different and better about me against these other 5 people, and tell me a better methodology I should use to describe myself. Just something that simple in ChatGPT. It'll go to all those websites and say, hey, none of them talk about this. You're superior at doing this and that, and they focus on. But get to know your competitors. It's so easy today with social media.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, ChatGPT and the other learn language modules can go out and find this information for you. So build a database and know what I remember one of my first sales training courses, and hopefully any sales training courses that people are taking are still saying the same thing. You never bash your competition. Don't ever do
Yeah.
that. That just makes you look disgruntled and cheap, right? But know them. Okay. So go in and say, oh, you're dealing with XYZ company. Yeah, good company. I know what they do, but maybe here's why we could better serve you. Okay. And then just get into where you're better. Okay. Type of thing. So your salespeople need to know that. They need to know every competitor that they may be, put up against, how to compete against them. What's your benefit? What's your value above and beyond them? So that's part of a playbook. Then we want to start talking about how we talk about ourselves and this value proposition that we offer, and what we have on our website, and how we say that to our clients, and then how we would say that in content for LinkedIn, or email, outreach and things like that. So, again, my playbook's going to take you all through who you are, who your competitors are, what you do well, how you do it, how you communicate out through that. And then one of the other things, and this is one of the top 10 things you need to do, is document your sales process. A lot of people well, it's different for everybody. No, it's really not. Okay. It really shouldn't be. Let me say it that way. And what I mean by that is, if you really understand your client, and I like to look at the buying process. We say sales process just because it's a term that's been out there forever.
Yeah.
But I would prefer that companies look at their, customers' buying process. How do they like to buy? What do they do? What happens? Okay. They have a need. They start to search. They hopefully find you some way or another to start a conversation. And then what happens? What needs to take place for you to demonstrate your value, make a presentation? Maybe you have to do samples if you produce something physically, make a presentation, put together a proposal. These are all steps that, you pretty much go through with every client. So if you can document those and you can put those into a CRM system so you can look at them visually in a Kanban box type of situation, this is where you're going to get your forecasting from. This is where you're going to understand, what your expectation of future business is, because you're going to see, as you progress a client through your process, obviously, the closer you get to the end, the greater the probability of them doing business with you. And you can put probabilities against the numbers that you're working with and develop a really accurate sales forecast, which is another thing you need to do. One of the top 10 things. Make sure you have a sales process that everybody knows they have to follow. Okay. Because that's how you can help your salespeople too, as you sit down and you look at everything they're working on. If they've created an opportunity and you're looking at it, you're looking at what stage is it in. And that's the most valuable thing you can do to help and coach a salesperson is go through all of their opportunities and say, what do we have to do with this client to move them to the next stage? Not necessarily to close them, to make them a customer. That may take a long time in your business. It all depends. But what do we got to do to get them to the next step? Or what are you going to do to hold them accountable? And make sure you're constantly following up on that. That's the activity. That's the focus that's going to ring the cash register, as opposed to just, make people feel good.
I love what you just said. And when you look at small, especially more on the small end, but you also can be mid-size as well. Sometimes when you said sales forecasting, that is something that's so important. Now, sometimes they may, depending upon, their age or their experience, they might still be doing it the old fashioned way with Excel and other types of, getting it manually from the people that are involved, whether it's direct or indirect, if they're using channel partners or alliance partners, that type of thing. But there are good, CRMs out there. It doesn't necessarily have to be Salesforce, right? If they can't
No.
afford Salesforce, it
In
could
fact,
be.
for most, don't
Yeah.
use Salesforce. Small and medium-sized businesses, probably not the
They're
best.
going to be Salesforce, yeah. But I mean, there's HubSpot and Zoho. There's a bunch of them out there.
Drive, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yep, all good
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, I love that. And because you mentioned that systems are going to be so important, because if they're so bogged down in these things that are, while they're important, when they can now be freeing up their time with using tools and resources to help them now create more time to be focused on other strategic areas to grow the business. That's what helps moves a business along. But like you said, do you find that a lot of times it's just because of habit or what they know, or it could be fear, it could be ego, or what could be all of the above, why they just can't give up that control to a tool, a resource, somebody else that could free up their time? Do you find that to be the case a lot of times?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, one of the stats that points to that, again, at Sales Acceleration, I think, I'm not accurate on the numbers here, maybe, but I think we touch base with about 2,500 SMBs a year and do assessments and everything else. And then we collect all this data, and our CEO takes it out as an industry expert in what's happening in the world of sales for small and mid-sized businesses. And we still see, as of last year, so small and mid-sized businesses defined as probably $5 million to $50 million of revenue, let's say, somewhere in that range. 50% of them still don't have a CRM or use one.
Wow.
And it just blows there's just using all, and to your question, why is that? Old habit, always did it that way, worked well enough. Hey, got us to here, it wasn't so bad. What do I got to spend money for when I can, get it done here? But when they see, I just got to encourage every business owner that's listening to this. If you don't have a CRM system, you will be blown away what this stuff can do for you today. And this is where, the first piece of AI, everybody's like, whoa, what's AI going to do to sales? That would be a whole nother podcast. But there is a small piece of AI that's operating on top of all of these CRM systems that's just going to make salespeople so much more efficient, okay? Because the AI that's being built into these tools today is, I'm seeing, allowing salespeople to work with approximately 25 to 50% more clients efficiently. Okay. Now if you can increase your sales by a third to a half, that's tremendous, right? And because you don't have to have calendar reminders, and all this other kind of stuff. And most of these CRMs today, you can actually speak to now. They all have voice activation.
Oh, yeah.
You can be driving your car and just talk to it and say, pull up the record for whatever, put the following note in there, make sure I send them this, make sure I do that. And the system is recording all this. And then, of course, you can use the other AI tools to go in there and ask it to make comparisons against everything that's been done that you have information on. So it can write you letters. It can keep you, aware of customer concerns. I mean, there's so much that it can do. Again, a whole nother topic, but that's the first place you should really look for AI in your sales organization, is with a good CRM system. And then, when salespeople see the value of that, they see how much it's helping them, they use it even more. Then your forecasts become more accurate. Your clients are happier because they're engaging them at the right times. They're not just, they're not just calling them once a month because that's what I have to do. I can monitor things that tell me when I should be engaging with certain clients. Okay. I can see when something's gone awry and I need to jump in and help make it right, type of thing. And of course, it can help you once you build your playbook and your ideal client profiles. Most of these have really good outreach tools to go find you more additional leads. Okay. There's a lot of outbound lead generation that can be done using AI today. When you better define what you're looking for, these tools can go out and better bring back that information to you. So you're dealing with, more accurate information that's going to lead to sales quicker than just trying to get through a Rolodex of information, from a list somebody gave you.
Absolutely. No, wonderful insights here. John, I know we could keep talking. I know there's so many more things you could talk about, and I want to leave that for a follow-up show because we're towards the end of the show. But anything you can sum up, like with any other drivers, I wish we could talk more. We'll definitely have that on a follow-up show. But any other important drivers out of the list that you could share, and then we could always set up another show.
Sure.
Have you back on.
Just a few as I kind of look through the list here. Again, you've got technology, you've got systems and strategies. We talked all about that. Yep. The thing, but it's people doing this, right? So a couple of things about people. First, make sure you have the right people, and that may require you bringing in some help, a sales manager, a fractional person like myself, whatever. But make sure you've got the right butts in the right seats, as they say,
Yeah.
right? Type of thing. Because and then once you know that you do, give them training. I mean, you wouldn't bring somebody into your factory and not show them how to use a machine before you did it. But a lot of business owners are like, wow, these salespeople should know what the hell they're doing, right? and they just throw them out there and pray, right? Go sell more than you did yesterday. So invest in them, invest in training, get yourself a good leader to help you guide them. And then that, those are the additional pieces, I think, that will kind of bring you to, full growth and a plan for success. So
Love it. Love it. And John, I want to thank you so much taking time out of your schedule to be with us here at Sustainable Success, not only for myself, but our team here at Sustainable Success. I wanted to give you a few minutes just to let the audience know, what is the best way to get in contact with you? What are you up to and anything that you'd like to offer them?
Sure. Well, thank you so much. So, if you find me on LinkedIn, great. You've got my name in the lower corner over there, and I should be readily available on LinkedIn. And please follow me. I try to give as much free advice as I can out there, to help anybody that I can. If you need to contact me directly, my email, jnoonan@growthplanpartners.com. I know it's a little long, but jnoonan@growthplanpartners.com. And if you get to my LinkedIn, there is a schedule a meeting right up near my picture. So you can just click on that, schedule a meeting with me. Let's have a little chat, and we'll take it from there. So, and I do want to make one offer. So if anybody,
sure, yeah, please do.
I'm sorry, I forgot all about this. I have quite, an assessment that I can offer for free. So I give this to any business owner that's like, I know I'm not where I want to be, but I don't know how many issues I have or if I do need help yet. No obligation. I'm happy to run you through a quick assessment you can take you no more than 20 minutes, and I can show you where you stand against, top small and mid-sized businesses out there in the marketplace today and the areas that you need to focus on. Okay, so I make that offer.
Great. And we'll make sure all of that information is in the show notes as well. So we encourage you to check out, the show notes for all that. Again, you can listen to the show here or anywhere on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, and of course, again, the video portion now on YouTube at Christopher R. Salem. That is my personal YouTube channel. That's where you can see this show now in video format. Thank you again, John, for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
And thank you, listeners, for joining us each and every week here at Sustainable Success. And again, now with the new format, we hope that you are enjoying this new format. We just started it this year. Again, we went from an hour to 35 minutes just because we know that a lot of people are very, very busy and don't have the time to be listening to an hour show, even though I always like longer shows because we can cover a lot of ground and provide more value. But nonetheless, that is the new format. And again, we are committed each and every week in bringing in subject matter experts like John in to share their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate you and your business to the next level. If you'd like to see content that we have not covered on a future show or on a future show, feel free to reach out to my team here at chris@sustainablesuccess.net. That's chris@sustainablesuccess.net. Tonight, everyone, have a great day. We'll see you on our new time now every Friday, 12 noon East Coast time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you next Friday. Take care.